Welcome to episode 24 of Whole Lot of Wolves. We're your hosts. I'm Joshua Buckley.
And I'm Paul LePage.
And we have another new guest to introduce this week. This is Teddy Eley from Florida. Teddy, how you doing today?
Hey, what's going on, everyone? Yeah, I'm doing pretty well. Thanks for asking, Josh. How about you guys?
Not too bad. Why don't you tell the listeners about how your Wolves support came about?
Yeah, for sure. I just passed my 10-year anniversary of supporting Wolves, actually. The first game I watched of theirs was that Manchester United versus Wolverhampton game in 2011. And yeah, it just happened to be on, I think, ESPN at the time, and there weren't too many EPL games being shown in the U.S. And I've always been big into soccer growing up, played it a lot, and tried to watch whenever I could. And yeah, this game was on, and somehow Wolves pulled out I think it was 2-1 win over Manchester United. And I was like, wow, this team's great. I always liked a little bit of an underdog story, and they were struggling with relegation that year. And I was like, I really liked the logo as well, and kind of jumped on. And yeah, since then, following season, back-to-back relegations and whatnot really tested me, and it's tough following them in League One in the U.S. There was like 8 games that were maybe aired to watch, so that was tough. But yeah, that championship season was probably my favorite one following a sports team, and yeah, it's been really nice being back in the Prem for sure.
Awesome. Yeah, how did you follow them over in the States when they were in League One? Because social media wasn't as huge of a deal if you said it was 8 years ago.
Yeah, I've always been pretty big on Twitter. So yeah, they had like their in-game, I don't know, what's his name? Henry took a shot from outside the box. I'd be following the live update on I think they had a live blog at the time as well. And their biggest games. I remember one against Shrewsbury Town and a couple others. They would be kind of aired, so I'd be able to stream them. But yeah, it was definitely difficult. So it makes them now just being able to turn on NBC or NBC Sports much easier.
Yeah,
it's definitely a case of Wolves support that whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So if you've done the trauma of League One, then you're pretty much ready for anything, and that's rich reward for these good times we're in now, I think. So good for you.
Yeah, definitely. I've also been a Cubs fan, so I'm used to years and years
of
me too.
I'm a lifelong Cubs fan. So,
yeah.
No. So you're a masochist like me. That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. So speaking of masochism, let's go and talk about Saturday's game. I'm normally a glass half full guy. I was really struggling after that 0-0 draw against Aston. They got a point. So we got that right, Paul. But did you struggle with that game as much as I did?
I think if you put it in the context of playing a local rival who were in pretty decent form away from home, you'd take a point. At the start of the season, you'd probably say, yeah, I'd settle for that. You're not going to lose against a local rival. But again, it's just the frustrations again, time and time again, just the same old pattern of play in that first 45 minutes was dreadful. And I wouldn't say that it was dreadful in terms of we didn't play well, but it was the sloppiness for me. Misplaced passes, Johnny Mutini, like the ones that you really bank on that are 7 out of 10s pretty much week in, week out. It was those moments during the first half. I saw people get their knickers in the twist about, they hit the bar twice, but that Ollie Watkins chance was a bit of magic that he crafted himself. And the one from Konsa was just one that dropped to him and it was a bad finish. But really in that first half, I thought it was two poor teams. Patricio didn't have a lot to do apart from those chances. But the flick of a switch into the second half performance, that was a goal or two or Sice's sitter away from being a masterful away from home performance again that we used to. I'm probably a glass half full after Saturday that I saw more of a swagger back in the second half. Not what we've been used to from past seasons, but it seemed like we had a little bit more about us and that we were the team that was more likely to cause them damage. But it just seems to me that where we get let down at the moment is that we're still pretty much a one-man show when it comes to the forward line. And it was Neto again, and Traore is quieter. Willian was pretty anonymous throughout. I think the only thing he does really well is defend corners in our box. I think that's what he's in the team for at the moment.
Not really what you need a number 9 for.
No, but one day, I keep on saying it, probably never happen, but one day that trio is going to click, and Traore is going to be on it and Neto at the same time, and they won't be able to live with him. And whoever's playing up front as the focal point is going to have a field day. It was just a case on Saturday that it was really Neto and no one else.
How about you, Teddy? What did you think?
Yeah, sorry, Paul really stole my point there with the sloppiness in the first half. We've all seen tons of similar displays in the first to second half before. And yeah, just the Jonny, Semedo, Neves, like William Jose, every single person out there I felt had a misplaced pass that kind of led to a counterattack for Villa. And it was just so frustrating to watch because yeah, you can control misplaced passes, and yeah, that was really brutal. And then yeah, I was expecting more from Adama as well. They had Matty Cash has been having a great season. He was out, so El Mohammadi was in, and really thought he should have had the beating of him. And yeah, just getting doubled up and really didn't produce much at all. Second half, yeah, once again we came into the game a little more, but it was still just set pieces where our chances came, and forward line wasn't clicking. Defensively, didn't think Den Donker was too solid back there once again. And yeah, they said it is a point away from the rival competition, but they were missing out Jack Grealish, who he's been having a wonderful season, can play through the line so well, and they were looking like a really weakened team. And yeah, I was obviously hoping for a win, but I guess a draw will do.
What do you think of the development of Connor Cody, potential goal scorer?
Yeah, I had a goal for England during the international break a couple months back, and that kind of opened up the eyes to Nuno. And yeah, he's been finding a lot of good spaces, and yeah, don't see why he shouldn't be continuing to be up there and going forward.
Yeah, I have no problem with him being up there, and I know he missed that one shot there late after Willen's shot was blocked. You can't really blame a center back for missing a shot like that. But his header was quality, and it seems like now, I know he scored that first header on Tuesday, and then he came in. If you notice, during the rest of the game, he kept asking Nuno, can I go forward? Can I go forward? And Nuno's, but then they put him up there again in the box on a set piece, and he nearly did it again. I think that could be a little bit of a revelation, especially with how Den Donker has been so horrible on set pieces.
It did seem that we had more of a threat from set pieces in general on Saturday, and especially in the second half. And that's not something that's been so common for us this season. And I think one thing Cody gives us in there is not necessarily his aerial presence, but he seems to have pretty good movement, and he picks up that space. I think you're right. If it's not coming in as a direct chance from a cross and someone headering it, if he's there to pick up the second phase, if it's bouncing around in the box, he could get himself in a decent position and put it away. I think it's not to be sniffed at, him being in there for sure.
It reminds me of Doc on set pieces, because he always seemed to find like that one little spot on the back post where nobody would really be paying attention to him. And I do feel like that's been a big spot where we've missed Doherty, is right there. So I've been pleasantly surprised. I hope they keep doing that. I think Bali's going to be coming back in soon, but that shouldn't keep them from keeping Cody in the box some.
Yeah, I feel like his footwork as well for that second chance. I don't know if you guys saw it, like a 180 kind of twirl. It was really impressive. He got the shot off as well for a center back. And yeah, hopefully he'll continue going forward.
I think this was another game where we really saw how much we miss Raul. I expected a lot more of Willen by this point. I expected him to know where the teammates were going and what they were thinking. And he just always seems to be going in the wrong spot. You can say at least Silva knows where he's going. Is this somebody who you would go ahead and use the option to buy in the summer? Because I'm feeling like that's $19 million that can be better spent on somebody else.
Yeah, definitely. I've also been slightly disappointed. He has done a really good job bringing other players into play. Something Fabio Silva struggled with. He has link-up play with Semedo, I'd say in particular, has been good, releasing him down the right-hand side. But yeah, in the box, you watched his highlight reels. I don't think anyone actually watched Real Sociedad games that are Wolves fans. No offense to anyone that did. And he was winning tons of headers. They're putting in tons of crosses to him, which Adama and Neto are providing with him now. And I honestly can't remember one time he's like linked on, maybe once or twice he's linked on to like an end of a cross, and they're putting him in good positions, but yeah, it just doesn't seem to quite be there. And yeah, I would be quite surprised if they took up his option to buy, barring late season run.
It's a weird one because it seems to be that he's regressed to start with. That he got some chances when he made his debut, and you thought if he's getting these and it's only his first game, what's going to happen when he finds his feet and he gets used to his teammates, and he's going to be really good. And it's gone the opposite way.
I agree.
Maybe you get a little bit of link-up play. His link-up play was somewhat better on Saturday, but in terms of chance creation or getting on the end of anything, he's light years away from at the moment. So if we can channel that money in a better place, I think it makes most sense, especially due to his age. I think we're gonna maybe need that money put towards a significant purchase for that second striker, in effect, who's battling with Fabio to really claim one of those spots up top.
And I think it's all going to come down to Raul. When he comes back, which it sounds like he's making really good progress, what's he going to be like? Is he going to be near? I don't think anybody expects him to be the same player, especially right away, but at least he had the creativity at that number 9 and knew how to get people involved on a counterattack.
Yeah, he could dribble. He can dribble with the ball, Raul can, and I think that's somewhat of a overlooked skill that he's got. That he's a bigger guy, but he's got that close control and he can maneuver the ball and play people in. Willian seems to be able to hold it up and knock it off, but he hasn't got that instinctive movement or any. Doesn't seem like he's got that ability to maneuver the ball in that tight, compact area like Raul has, and either beat a man or put someone else in and then catch up with the play and get on the end of it. Yeah, I think you're dead right that it really magnified his loss again on Saturday. Would have been the type of game that he was playing, would have gone and won.
Yeah, I'm really curious to hear what you guys think. I actually say Raul at the end of the season turns into like the Raul we know from the past. Would you guys be comfortable with just Fabio Silva backing him up next season?
I don't know. I feel like we need one more guy who's just going to go in knowing you may not get much playing time, but somebody that can still be trusted, just because we were caught with our pants down a little bit when Raul got hurt, ended up having to pull Catrone back, and that didn't work out. But how many decent strikers are out there where you're telling them you're clearly going to be assuming everybody's healthy, number 3 in the pecking order? That's a tough sell.
I think for me, if you look at it, especially the Fabio transfer, that people will say it was a lot of money and it was too expensive. I'm not in that camp, because what it's shown to me is really, if you think about it, Raul's value to the Wolves is upwards of 50 million, 60 million pounds. Not necessarily his valuation, but what he brings to the team. So if you wanted to halve that, then you're thinking around about the 30 million mark for a direct replacement.
Mm-hmm.
If that's the case, then maybe Fabio was always bought in that development phase, that he's happy being third in line, and maybe his valuation's inflated by 10 or 15 million based on a Mendes tax, or you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours, how that works. So I think if we've got that money in place for Willian or someone else, that we really need to be in the market for someone in that 30 to 40 million pound mark again, that's a direct that could come in and directly challenge and be, as much as possible, a like-for-like replacement for Raul if he is out. The only counter to that I'd probably argue with myself is whether there's a type of striker in maybe in the Championship in the mould that Che Adams was a couple of years ago at Southampton, who came from Blues for about 15 to 20 million. He'd scored probably 15 to 20 in a poor Birmingham team. Is there the type of player out there that we could pick up like that who would be happy coming in and being more of a player from the bench? I saw there was links today or yesterday to Ivan Toney, who's the top scorer for Brentford in the Championship. So is there someone in that type of mould? I think if Brentford get promoted, then I think he's probably likely to stay and be a big fish in a small pond for a season. Is there anyone else who maybe is in a lesser Championship team, maybe flirting around the playoffs, that if they don't get promoted, we could go in and be around the 20, 25 million mark, but have someone reliable off the bench?
Yeah, I thought the Tooney thing was interesting, but like you said, Brentford is a legit candidate to get promoted. If they get promoted, they're obviously not going to sell him off because they'll need him. He's another guy, though. He's been having so much success. Do you tell him, okay, we'd like to bring you in, but you'd be the backup to Raul? Or is there going to be another team out there who is promoted, maybe struggle? Let's say Fulham manages to stay up because they've been playing well lately, and Fulham offers him a starting job. He's going to want to go there instead of being second fiddle to Raul.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's exactly the same scenario that Ollie Watkins was last summer.
Yeah.
That I'd have snapped your hands off for Ollie Watkins at the amount that Villa played for him. But would he have come to the Wolves knowing that he wasn't going to be the main guy as number 9? Highly doubtful. And it takes all those pieces to fit together when it comes to a transfer. So we may well have been in for him, not being able to offer him a starting berth. So he says, no, thanks. I'm going to go down the road where they've guaranteed me the number 9 shirt and I'm going to play week in, week out. So, yeah, it's a tricky conundrum.
Yeah, I do wonder if we could play a 3-4-1-2 to your point, Paul, like we did at points in the past season with Jota and Jimenez up top. Yeah, do you think that could be possible at all?
I'd love to see it again. I think we've seen that there's a lot of criticism at the moment about the way we set up, and it's overly defensive or cautious. And we've seen some of our best Premier League football in a 5-3-2. Have we got? Is that in the back of Nuno's mind with Neto and Raul when Raul's back? I don't know. I'd like to see it. I'd like to see it given a chance. Or is there is there another player out there that could take up a berth on one of those wider positions, but then work as a 2 as well, like Jota was perfect for? So I think there's definitely a spot to fill up top for next season. And it's going to be interesting to see how exactly it is filled, what type of player it is.
Yeah, I will also say that Fabio Silva has improved quite
Absolutely.
impressively for me, at least. And I might be in the opinion that I think I would be comfortable if we're just playing one striker up top with him, backing him up, assuming Raul's back fully fit. I mean, another year under his belt, living in England, getting used to the Prem, hopefully off season, putting on some muscle. I feel like he could be a good deputy to Raul. So, yeah, I guess we'll have to see how the rest of the season plays out. But I am optimistic about him.
What I like is Fabio really hustles, and you can tell he really cares. And that's one thing I haven't seen from Willen. And I just noticed that little extra bit of energy, and I felt that was the way Neto was last year when he started coming to his own. It was just always that energy. Fabio, he doesn't have the speed of Neto. That was very clear on one of the breakaways, but man, that kid is always trying. He's always like willing to get his head in there, and it's tough to find a number 9 sometimes that's willing to do some of the dirty work, especially at his age.
I think that's what's warms a crowd to you as well. And I think especially for the Wolves faithful, that if they see Steve Bull-esque figure who's head down and running and snapping at their ankles and chasing lost causes down. That goes a long way to getting a fan base on side, and that's probably a reflection of what we've missed this year with not having fans in the grounds. Is you don't necessarily see that type of work that goes into it, and the camera angle's not pointed on Fabio chasing down the defenders necessarily, or getting himself into positions to do it and hustle and press from the front. So I think if he's got that as part of his game, then it's going to take him a long way, I think.
Who would you say was your man of the match for the Aston game? I thought it was the crossbar, but you guys can go ahead and give your opinions on.
You're talking Wolves or just overall game?
Yeah,
I'd
just
say
Wolves.
John McGinn, I felt, had a pretty good game for Villa. Paul, let you go first as I think this one through.
Yeah, it's a tricky one. I think no one was above a 7 on the balance of play over the course of the 90 minutes. And I just think out of everyone, probably Neto posed the biggest threat that we had. And he had that breakaway chance from the corner and did some decent stuff. So I'm going for Neto at a 7 out of 10.
Yeah, I could go for Neto. I felt like Cody had a pretty good game, keeping a clean sheet, kind of marshaling the back line. I had two of the best chances of the game. Yeah, I thought he performed pretty well.
Yeah, Cody was my guy as well. Do we know if Adama hit the announcer's dog with his car before the game? Because, my goodness, I hear some Adama hate, but it was like every time he touched the ball, the dude was just lambasting him.
Yeah.
It's Matt Upson. I don't know where the particular negativity comes from as far as that one went. It did seem that he was public enemy number 1 and unnecessarily on Saturday for sure.
Yeah, they love harping on the no goals or no assists so far in this season, but I think it's just really important to pay attention to his role. He hasn't been cast as a goal scorer. If you look at his heat maps, he's hugging that touchline most of the game. And yeah, his progressive dribbles bring us out when we're in tight situations in defense. Yeah, he's been one of the best in the Prem at it, which is, really underrated skill, I would think, that gets overlooked for him. And yeah, obviously it'd be nice to have a little more end product, but I think yeah, he didn't perform great on Saturday, but overall, I don't think he's been as bad as the numbers say he does.
What's funny is if you look at the deep numbers, he's in some ways having a better year than last year. I saw last year he averaged 1.7 big creation passes a game. This year it's 2.0. What's the difference? Great number 9, who he always was in the right spot for him. Yeah. They just had a great connection. But I don't know. It's getting irritating. It's one thing if a guy's like really struggling, but it was like starting from the first touch of the game, like every time he touched the ball, see, that's about man, just I know these guys know what they're watching. It's more than just goals and assists. It really is. If it was just goals and assists, Moutinho would be an awful player, but he's not.
Better than last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. But yeah, you're right. It's just, again, it's not necessarily the one-man Adama show. It's the opportunity that he takes up 2 guys and that creates space to the others. And it's just those partnerships or that fluidity between the front 3 that's not there this season when it was previously with Raul and Jota and everything that went with that. So yeah, it's a big transition season that I think that Adama gets picked on unfairly for.
I agree. Let's talk briefly about the Man City game, which was awful for 45 minutes. And then suddenly spectacular for 35 minutes, and then it was gone. I honestly felt better coming out of a 4-1 loss than I did a 0-0 draw. Am I crazy for that?
Yeah, sorry. I think you are. I was worried when I saw that lineup. I was excited for a moment that I thought they are going to go with the traditional 5-3-2, and it turned into a 4-5-1, and with Adama as the focal point. And if that was how it was going to go down, I'd have rather had a striker up there and had Dharma further out wide right like Neto was wide left, because it didn't work with Semedo. There was no real creativity at all. Then we had somewhat of that lucky opportunity to get back into the game. Then we caused some little hustle and put some pressure on, but that was about it. It was a shadow of the team that played there last season for whatever the reasons are. And yeah, you could talk about how good Man City are till the cows come home, but I think that was a pretty weak showing from us for a variety of reasons.
Yeah, I will say Manchester City looked so impressive. For me, just whenever they lost the ball, it didn't matter if it was Sterling, Jesus, like every single player was dedicated to win the ball back. And I don't think we strung more than 3 passes together the whole entire first half. Just the way they pressed spaces. There was literally no out ball, and so they just huff it wide to Traore, and they would always recover. They're just yeah, I'd probably say the best team in the world at the this weekend's result side. The best team in the world at the moment. They really showed us why we're 13th or whatever in the Prem right now.
I guess the way I looked at it after that game was, yeah, that first half, man, we were lucky not to be down 4 goals. But in typical Wolves fashion, man, they came out and were really hustling in the second half. And you can see so many teams. This is another reason why I am definitely not going to jump on the Nuno out bandwagon, because those guys were still playing hard and they stepped it up a notch. They stepped up their game in the second half. And it looked for a little bit like, hey, maybe they may hold on for a point here, which I think everybody would have been thrilled with. That's one of the things I like about this team, man. They get punched in the mouth a lot, and they keep coming back. They keep coming back.
Yeah, brings me back to that West Ham game earlier this season. That was one of the only games I felt like they gave up in a way.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I will say a word for Patricio as well. He's definitely his performances have improved the last couple of months, and I thought it was outstanding that game to keep it 2-4-1. Felt like it could have been 6-8 to be honest.
We're Wolverhampton, we're on our way back.
Let's look ahead to Liverpool now, and I know people are complaining about our form a little bit, but oh my goodness, Liverpool has just fallen off the map, and I don't want to hear injury talk from them because they have so many more financial resources and they're so much deeper than teams like us. Can we pull this off? Can we keep them, or is this when Liverpool starts to turn things around?
Yeah, I've been reading this is the term of the year. They are in relegation form, and yeah, I watched that match against Fulham this past weekend, and outside the final 20 minutes, they looked very poor. Yeah, I think there's definitely a chance that we could get at them. Their defensive line has been absolutely decimated, as you talked about, by injuries, and they decided the solution was bringing in a center back from the last place team in the Bundesliga, which was definitely an interesting call there. But yeah, I think Fulham outplayed them for the first 60 to 70 minutes, and I don't see any reason why Wolves won't be able to do so.
I think it's a tricky one just because we're 2 out of form teams, and there might be an unfair expectation that it's a great time to be playing Liverpool and we're going to beat them. And if it was any of the 2 previous seasons, it would have been an ideal time to be playing them when we were in good form and we had all our players as well. This one I'm not so sure about, just based on the situation that both teams find ourselves in, and I've got a nagging feeling that both would be probably happy with a draw, and that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, I'm along with you there, especially now with Jota back. That worries me.
Yeah.
I think if Jota wasn't playing, I'd feel a little bit better, but you still look at the talent on that team, and they're going to break out of it at some point, and I just hope it's not against us. That's the beauty of soccer, is anything can happen on a given day. Let's be honest, Fulham beat Liverpool. As much as Liverpool's struggling, you think Fulham fans really legitimately thought they were going to win 1-0 against Liverpool?
And it's crazy that Anfield fortress for so long, and then it's like all the cards have fallen this season, and everyone's been showing up there and winning, where for the past 2 years that it's been impenetrable. So it's a shame for the Wolves that they're not coming to us and we've got something genuinely to play for, be it going after a European spot or a really high finish. Because I think if that was the case, it would be more emphasis to us to really take the game to them and get one over on a out of form Liverpool that's very rarely seen. Really is.
Do you think Jota's going to score on Monday?
Yeah, he looked at the races, this past weekend, and he was playing really well up until his injury. I don't know, I don't feel like every former Wolves player has scored against us in the past. I wouldn't be surprised by any means, but I don't think it's like a dead given. You know what I mean?
It'll be sick. I think he didn't start in the game at Anfield, so there's that as well to factor in, that he's coming back from an injury as well, so his game time's going to need managing also. But yeah, I'm still nervous. I think there's still he's going to come back and bite us on the butt at one point, and maybe it is this season when there's not so much riding on it. I'm not sure.
And for the record, I still think it was smart business to sell him when they did, especially when you looked at it going in, is we already had Adama, Neto, and Podence. And I can't even say the season would be that much different with him here, because it's not like he would have been a direct replacement for Raul. Semedo, I think, is definitely showing we overvalued him, which is not that surprising, but I still think it was good business.
It seems a weird one on the Jota sale, that he was predominantly pretty much for the second half of the championship season, the number 9 in a forward 3. And it was quite surprising for me that, especially in some of the Europa group games, there wasn't that opportunity to rotate with Raul and say, let's see what he's like as that number 9, as that focal point in the 3, because totally different player to Raul. What Jota can do is take you up the pitch, but I don't think he'd get that opportunity as a central striker to control and hold off a big centre half and keep the ball and advance with his back to goal. I could still see why the sale happened, and I'm still comfortable with it. I don't think we'd have seen similar results to Raul if Jota was still here and he had that injury.
Yeah, I agree. The fee we got as well was like 45 or something million pounds.
Yeah.
I thought it's quite good for our fourth best winger at that time. And yeah, he's just always been a streaky player. And at the middle end of last season, he really out of form, kind of looked almost disinterested at the end, kind of was ready for a new opportunity. I thought it was best for both clubs.
Let's go to predictions for the Liverpool match then. Hey, Paul, I picked up 2 wins in the standings.
That's right. I think we're neck and neck now, so it's really going to get interesting with the run-in. Yeah.
Okay, Teddy, you're the guest, so you get to start off with your prediction against Liverpool.
Yeah, I definitely want to be optimistic about this one, but I think a 1-1 draw I'd be pretty pleased with. Yeah, just think of all the past few years, whenever we played against them, you just knew they were always going to win the game. So yeah, 1-1 for me.
I'm going to go with the same as well. I've got that nagging feeling that it's definitely not going to be as easy as I feel some people may be trying to make it out. Yeah, I'd be happy with the point for sure. Liverpool
just worries me, man. Just worries me. Their backs to the wall. They're not even going to make European football if they keep this up. I'm going to have to, I hate it. I'm going to have to say 1-0 Liverpool. And I hope I'm wrong. But I don't know.
Yeah,
yeah.
Sorry, that defense keeping a clean sheet, I will. Even against Wolves, I'll be surprised.
It's one of those deals where I just gotta see him score goals before I start picking him to score more than one goal. Man.
we got some. I think I saw it on the BBC site a while back that we've got some crazy record that if we take the lead at home in the Prem, then I think we've only dropped 2 points in the whole of our return since we ever came back. So That's what gets me about these types of games against the likes of Liverpool if they're out of form, that if we could get a foothold in the game and score first, then we've got a much better chance to go on and win it, because they have to come out and attack us more if we've got the lead. That should play into our hands as more as a counter-attacking team. So again, it just goes into that first half cautiousness where if it didn't exist and we're more on the front foot, then it could reap rewards over the longer term.
Yeah, going back on that, I do find it interesting. Nuno's been asked, Connor Cody was asked, Pedro Neto. None of them have a reason for why these first halves are so poor. Last season, I definitely thought could have been a tactical thing to save our energy with so many games. But yeah, this season, the fact everyone's confused and these performances there's such a huge difference between them. Yeah, so obviously I don't have the answer, but I just can't believe that no one in the squad or the coaching staff kind of can fix this issue.
It's very much like Team USA when Bob Bradley was the manager. It was like they just never started until they were down 1-0 and within 20 minutes. And it was just always, whoa, what are we doing? Can somebody please get off to a fast start just once? All right, Paul, it's no stupid question time, and boy, we got some doozies this week.
We've got our work cut out, folks. It's that part of the show where you get in touch and ask us anything you like related to the Wolves in a judgment-free zone, be it the match day experience, something historical, or something totally off the wall. You can do this on our Facebook page or Twitter or by email to hello@wholelotofwolves.com. First up is Football Scout X on Twitter. He's been in touch and asked, which part of the United States has the biggest Wolves support? And I thought this was an interesting one. It'd be good if NBC ever came out with some stats about when the games are shown, who tunes in the audience figures from around the country. I'd probably speculate that New York's up there, probably yourself, Teddy, in Florida with the expat potential base that they've got down there in Florida as well. I think we'll do pretty good in Houston and Texas, again, thanks to the expat influence, the oil and gas industry, but also with the likes of obviously Raul and the Mexican fan base attached to that as well. So I think audience figures I'd like to have a look at. Supporters club wise, I think the same goes. New York Wolves always get a decent turnout. I think Paul in Florida had lots going on pre-lockdown with his meetups with Florida Wolves and stuff, and likewise Houston Wolves, we've enjoyed some great turnouts when everything's been equal. So yeah, I think it'd be interesting to get a more accurate picture of what the fan base is like over here.
Yeah, I think as long as Raul's on the team and when he's back playing, I think probably you have to look at where there's a large Mexican fan base. So my big brother, he actually coaches high school soccer in Alabama, has a lot of Hispanic players. They love Wolves. They love Wolves. They love Raul Jimenez. And that's always what we see down here, Paul. I don't know, Teddy, do you get the same thing when you're wearing Wolves stuff and a Mexican fan comes up and says hi? Just because they love Raul Jimenez so much. Those have got to be the big areas. So there you're talking New York, Florida, down here in Texas, and probably to a lesser extent LA and Chicago.
Yeah, from my experience, I haven't been to watch too many Wolves in different places, but New York was definitely up there for me. Yeah, and then anywhere south where Raul would have, there'd be a lot of Hispanics, such as, yeah, as you said, Miami and Los Angeles. And yeah, whenever I have worn my Wolves jersey, yeah, everyone loves Raul Jimenez, and you really can't overstate how much of a great impact he's had for Wolves in bringing them to North America.
Next up, Stu on Twitter. This goes back to the first half conundrum. He asks, what will you be doing during the first half against Liverpool next week to battle the boredom? Maybe take up knitting? So, can you think of any new hobbies that would take 45 minutes? Potentially, you could do with one eye on the game. Maybe some yoga. Yeah, I'm struggling on this one, but
Stu, bravo. That is a fantastic question, bravo. I think, Paul, you know what I'd be doing during the first half. So you can just go ahead and say it because I know Clive would certainly call it out as well. I would be working on a jigsaw puzzle.
yes, definitely. Yeah, that's a good one.
How about you, Teddy?
Yeah, unfortunately the game's on Monday. It's tough with work, but I would say I'm a pretty big Jenga guy. I feel like it'd be pretty easy to be playing on with one eye, focused on the game on the others. Not too much is happening. So yeah, I think Jenga would be my go-to.
You could punch the bricks down as well when we concede that dreadful first goal as well, is to relieve the frustration. So that could be therapeutic at the same time as well.
And you don't get out of answering this question, Paul. What's yours?
What am I going to do? Oh, I don't know. Monday afternoon, can't really go on a big drinking binge to numb the pain that way.
You can.
Yeah, you could.
I sit through it. I'm the masochist. That I'm as interested as it being a boring nil that we're playing poorly. It doesn't matter to me, and I'm a win at all cost guy. And to win, you don't lose, so that's a draw. So I'll take a draw first and see if anything better happens from there. But it's a little to the case that we mentioned it before about being in League One. So I've had the struggle, and I can put up with this till the end of the season. So they've got my full attention. So Wolfman Jeff, guys, he's been in touch this week, and he's really got us doing some homework on a couple of questions. The first one, he asks, we need to spend in the summer transfer window, centre back, midfield, and a forward. Rank them according to priority and spending. Do we spend more for a midfielder or a defender? Is there a priority between those positions? What do you think, guys?
Yeah, for me, I think midfielder has to be the priority here. I feel like someone that can complement the attack a little more. We've seen Den Dunker oftentimes this season get into the attack, but lacking that finishing touch. So yeah, I feel like someone that can carry the ball. A little more creative in that center midfield role with Neves dropping in behind him. I would really like for us to spend heavy on a midfielder. Center back, I feel comfortable still with Bali and Cody if we continue to play five at the back. That left center back spot, I could see us upgrading. I think Kilman Saiz would be great backups. So that'd be where I'd be looking for in defense. And again, forwards, my lowest priority. I would really love to see a goal scoring midfielder. I think could make a huge difference for us. Yeah, what about you, Paul and Josh?
I think it goes back to the Raul question. If you feel like Raul is going to be back and is going to be able to play up to or close to the level that he was playing, then forward's not as big of a priority. If he's not, it's got to be the number one priority. I'm with you if Raul's okay, midfielder, 100%. It needs somebody that's a box-to-box midfielder that can actually be a threat to score, which I don't feel like Dendoncker is right now. But they have to know that Raul at least be comfortable with it before they can make that decision. It's interesting because you can make an argument for all three of these. You can make the argument for center back, for midfield, and forward. Because if you're wanting to look at it and go, let's try and go with a back four next year, they definitely need a center back because the guys we have back there are mostly back five guys. Unless you're going to think about maybe moving Cody back up again to center defensive mid, which I don't think is a great idea. I still like him in the back. To answer the question, Wolfman, I'm going to go with the assumption they're going to go in thinking Raul's the guy, and he'll be able to do it again, and Silva will improve. So I will rank it midfield, center back, forward. And Moutinho's long in the tooth now, and I think he would agree with it too. So it's time to get a really dynamic player. We need a Jack Grealish. We just need somebody creative. I don't think Vitana's it. I know John Batista would be mad at me for saying that, but How do you feel, Paul?
I'm going slightly different. I'm going spine of the team. And with that we've already got studs in place with Patricio, Neves, Jimenez if he comes back and he's the same role. The one thing I think's missing, and especially if we're looking to transition to a 4, is an out-and-out absolute world-class centre-back. And even with his age, and I think some questions about his suitability in a 4, going back to his time at Porto, I'm not necessarily sure even Willy Bolly is when it comes to a back 4. I could see him as the secondary guy, especially as he can take that role potentially on the left. But I think we need a real out and out stud at centre back who's young and can be with us for a good many years to come. So that's my priority. It would be centre back first. That Dendonka 2.0 upgrade in the midfield, because that would serve a purpose, A, to offer some better protection to the defence, but B, some creativity or someone to get on the end of some of the chances and chip in with 5, 6, 7, 8 goals a season. I think that would be crucial. And probably strike a third, a little along the lines that we talked about earlier in the show, that it might be someone that we can pick up in more of a developmental type substitute role, who we may need to spend big on, but they may be fine coming into an upwardly mobile Premier League team, knowing that they might not necessarily be starting each week, but would be happy coming off the bench and contributing.
Definitely. I feel like we could talk about whether we should do 4 or 5 at the back. That's like its own separate show. But
It really is.
Yeah, if you guys were to go into it, what are kind of your first thoughts on that for this upcoming season?
I know Paul's thoughts because Paul definitely wants to. I think you've been wanting to see that transition to the back 4, right, Paul?
Somewhat, but at the same time, we've always had that identity at the 3 at the back and the 5, and we mentioned it just a while back that some of our best performances in these Premier League years have been with that 5-3-2. But it's kind of like, where's this going in general in terms of the ways that teams set up? That was always our advantage, that when Nuno came in, and that first year in particular, that the 5 at the back was relatively underutilized by the opponents. It was only really us that had it, and Chelsea a little bit. So that was always an advantage to us. The flip side of that is that when it got figured out and teams swamped the midfield, they're able to figure it out. Is there a way that I don't know? Is it necessary? Can we get to the level that we want with 5 at the back, or is it a 4 with a more potent forward line and a stronger centre midfield? I'm leaning towards the latter, but I think that needs a significant overhaul in the playing staff to make that 4 a success.
I know one thing: if we had actually been able to pull off Ruben Diaz, I would be fine with a 4.
Yeah, that's what's crazy, isn't it? What difference those individual players can make. And I think the thing about Diaz is not only he's an absolute stud by himself, but what it brings out with other people, in that he's turned John Stones back into that 35 million pound England international starting centre back again. So it brings out the best in those around them as well. And I'm just hoping we got someone in lined up who can do similar. That would be awesome.
Yeah.
And same thing with Van Dijk. Look at Liverpool collapsed once he got hurt. It really is incredible how one just truly dominant center back can change a whole team.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I'm not we're thinking about if this transition to a 4 is going to happen, and that often leads people to write off Cody, and I won't write him off in a 4 yet, because I think he needs. People wrote him off that he can transition to be a sweeper, and he's been phenomenal. So I think if he's got Nuno's tutelage with him, everything that goes with it, I don't necessarily think he might be a starter, but I definitely think he could be developed into being one of those centre backs with the right partner.
Definitely. I feel like a difference of opinion to you, Paul, where I want to see some tweaks to the five at the back system. We've seen Sheffield United last season. They've been struggling this season to deploy their center backs kind of with these overlapping runs. I can't remember one time I've seen Saiz or Bali go to the end line to put in a cross. I feel like that could be an interesting wrinkle. And I don't know if you guys have seen Atalanta in Serie A. They also play with five at the back, and they make these really interesting passing diamonds with their outside back, their outside wing back, one of their center midfielders, and they play with two up top with one of their strikers. And these four diamonds are interchangeable, and just leads to really great passing movements and patterns where sometimes you see the right wing back through on goal, for example, or the center back up there. And I feel like, just trying something like that for these last few games of the season could definitely be something we can improve on. Because, as you said, we've played this five at the back system for 3 years now, and all the players know their roles. But I feel like we could change those roles a bit to get a little more out of the system that they all know so well.
Yeah, and if it works for Atalanta, I'd be okay trying it, because you see the fits they give people in Champions League.
Yeah, qualified for Champions League, I think 2 years in a row. Yeah,
they pulled off some big upsets last year.
Definitely, yeah.
This thread of conversation leads into Jeff's second question somewhat as well, because he also asked that a few months ago we were speculating that Jonny might be a replacement in the summer. So how has Jonny's return impacted your view of him staying or leaving?
I should probably start this, since I was the one beating the drum for we got to sell Jonny. I apologize,
yeah,
Jonny.
You did create this speculation. Luckily, that no one picked up our potential leaks and ran with it as a story.
I will apologize. I still think Aït-Nouri is going to be a superstar at some point, but the defense shored up immediately when Jonny came back. And man, you look at this is one tough dude. There are a lot of U.S. players. There is no way in some of these sports they would come back that soon from the knee injury he had and would play this many minutes. I thought for sure he would only play one game last week, and he played both, and he played for a long time too. Man, and I know you'll go into, because you do feel Jonny would make just a good left back as well. Yeah, I was wrong. I'm willing to admit it. We need to keep him around, and ideally, Aït-Nouri will continue to develop. But for right now, Jonny is by far the best option out there on that left side.
I think for me, it talks to the four of the back being definitely more of an option next year with the right additions, because Jonny fits it perfectly. He's of a perfect age. I think Semedo is going to have a breakout season next year once he's here and settled, and we'll really see the best of him after this season. I think for the backup players as well, we've pretty much got those tied down. If Aït-Nouri becomes a permanent signing, they've got Hoover. So those positions are settled, and it shouldn't be anything to worry about next season onwards. Jonny, Semedo, both good ages. It's complementing them with those other pieces that are missing.
Yeah, I'm definitely a huge Ryan Aït-Nouri fan as well. I think he has a big potential on the game and possibly for France going forward. Yeah, as you said, Jonny, just individually, he just so rarely gets beat one-on-one. And yeah, if you watch games back, just him cutting out passes out to that wing, he just locks down who's ever out there. And that's such a huge, he just plays such a huge role on the side, as he said. He locked down defensively once he came back in. Yeah, I'm definitely really happy with him. I think he's had some good link-up play now with Adama. Yeah, I feel like those two could work out a good partnership now that he's on the left wing. And yeah, hoping he doesn't leave this summer.
So those are all great questions. Hopefully, we'll get some more like that next week for No Stupid Question. Good job, listeners. This was a fun one.
Made you think.
So as we wrap up this segment, why not tell the listeners how to get in touch with you out in Florida?
Definitely. So right now I'm living in Boca Raton, Florida. I normally go to the Lion and Eagle pub in Boca Raton. They also have an outdoor section with the TV they can watch the game on. Unfortunately, it is owned by a West Brom fan, but he's a lovely chap. And yeah, it's a good time. There's normally a few of us there. So yeah.
And what's your handle on Twitter?
Oh,
'Cause you seem
sorry. Yeah,
pretty
yeah.
active
You
there.
can contact me on Twitter, Instagram, any of the socials. It's Teddy Eley, Eley on Twitter, Instagram, email, whatever you're looking for.
Listeners, thanks for your continued support. If you're tuning in for the first time, please hit subscribe, like the podcast, share it. Give us a 5-star review across your podcast listening platform of choice, because this helps us a bunch with our exposure and getting a whole lot of Wolves out there. We'll be back again next Monday night for a quick review show immediately after the Liverpool game and before that long stretch of no games with the international break. So in the meantime, stay safe out there. Look after you and your pack. In Nuno we trust, and up the Wolves.